grew up in the wild west of anime. The 2000s and the early 2010s were this liminal point in time where anime was becoming more accessible here in the West, but it was still definitely seen as an unflattering and childish fandom to be involved with. Anime clubs at schools were held in relative secrecy, as to avoid the watchful judgment of teachers and students, as some unnecessary fan service would pop onto the screen. It was an iconic era of moe slice of life shows like Lucky Star or K-On!, as well as being a boiling point for a bunch of wacky plot lines, diverse art styles, and a lot of creativity. It was near impossible to find a popular show with an English translation that didn't have something veering into the realm of eroge despite the subject matter of the show. Like, come on guys, are you telling me that some of the jutsus in Naruto weren't going to get you a couple looks from your classmates? However, when I was rewatching some of my favorite anime from when I was a teenager, as well as animes that still have active fandoms that I didn't get around to watching at the time, I started to notice the emergence of a trope that is honestly really weird. I mean, pretty weird is a very generous way to put it, but you know what I mean. It's a trope that I remember people my age who were into anime making jokes about back when I was in school, and at some points even a trope that some of my classmates and peers were romanticizing. It's a trope that's been used by many different anime and anime studios, and is one that also still gets used to this day, albeit more sparingly. As you probably gathered from the thumbnail, today we're going to be talking about one of the worst tropes in anime, aka the infamous twincest trope. This is my Valentine's Day special, I guess, wrapped up with love for awkward viewing at home. Sorry to my mum who watches all my videos, this is a weird one. I mean, I guess sorry to all of you who have to watch this, but hopefully it's interesting. So the term twincest, as you could probably imagine, refers to an implied or acted on romantic relationship between twins. This can be anything from overly close behavior that starts to border into inappropriate romance, all the way along to adult level hijinks. And although the term itself isn't often used in the mainstream vernacular, it is something that can occur even casually within different forms of media. In the movie Gone Girl, we start to see the news outlets turn against Nick and at one point imply that him and his twin sister Margot might have an overly close and not acceptable relationship.
They both seem very, very close.
It's twincest.
In the popular comedy series Always Sunny in Philadelphia, the McPoyle twins, Liam and Ryan, are actively implied to have a twincestuous relationship. And of course, who can forget the infamous Lannister twins who are caught out in their relationship and actually conceive a child in Game of Thrones. Clearly, anime is not the first medium to explore interpersonal relationships between twins. Twins have historically been a medical and psychological fascination globally. The innate curiosity about the closeness and connection that two individuals share from coming from a whole. Not like in a weird way, just like the same embryo. Can they understand each other on a deeper level? Can they feel each other's pain or finish each other's sentences? Do they get the same emotional and deeper understanding with other people as they do with their twin? Even dating back to biblical texts and theology, twins were a symbol of free will and self-determined destiny. For the majority of the populace who was not born a twin, there are always questions that we want answered about this elusive relationship. There are way too many anime where a sibling is set up as a love interest, or is actively pestering their brother or sister for abnormal levels of attention and affection. It's nearly always shoved into the plotline to appeal to a certain type of fan service without any real need for this conflict or option. I cannot tell you how disappointed I felt when Spy Family of all shows decided to include an overprotective younger brother for Yor. But of course, they made it a really weird and inappropriate kind of relationship and adoration that the brother has for the sister. Like, come on, we've barely seen Yor do any of her assassin stuff or have her own plot lines outside of Anya. Now we're giving screen time to this Randy who is just not relevant to the plot whatsoever and is only there again, I guess, to kind of lean into fan service. Like, his behavior towards Yor is objectively abnormal. This is meant to be a show about spies and a cute little family dynamic. Why are we bringing a weird brother who is obsessed with his sister and promised to marry her into the equation? It's not needed. It's such a common occurrence that animes like Watamote have actively parodied this behavior to show how creepy and abnormal it is. With Tomoko being a chronically online anime consumer and trying and failing to seduce her brother, all while he looks at her with genuine pity and disgust, making the audience as uncomfortable as him watching Tomoko make a fool out of herself and do things that are objectively abhorrent. Tomoko is meant to be a loser for behaving this way and trying to replicate what she sees in anime and manga because she has no social skills. But of course, I could do a whole video talking about the weird thing that anime has with sibling dynamics, and I might just do that at some point, but it is like opening Pandora's box, so that's not today's focus. No, this video is about the specific phenomena of twins within anime, and there is a weird amount of examples to work with. The first time I heard or experienced the phenomena of twincest is probably the same as a lot of others. This being the Hitachi brothers Hikaru and Kaoru in 2006's Ouran High School Host Club. These two are probably some of the most well-known proprietors of this label, being two incredibly close male siblings that value each other over anyone else. They are the metaphorical poster boys of twincest, and often, and somewhat unfairly, are used as common criticism in more recent years of the show. However, I feel like a lot of people forget that this display between Hikaru and Kaoru only exists to play up to their customers, aka the adoring wealthy Fujoshis of Ouran Academy. It's almost an actively meta choice that's made, showing that the twins are very marketable as a package when it comes to profit for the club, while showing us that the twins involved are in fact not like this and have a lot more depth as individuals. Hikaru and Kaoru do have a very deep relationship with each other in the anime and the manga. However, Ouran High School Host Club does try to show what it's like to be a twin and the nuances of that kind of dynamic outside of society's fetishized view of twins. The struggle of trying to be seen as individuals by their peers who, more often than not, treat them as entirely interchangeable with one another, regularly feeling isolated and misunderstood as others don't try to get to know them or appreciate them based off their own individual merits. Even their own family and the staff that work for them, such as nannies, don't really know them as individuals or can confidently distinguish between them. And so when the Hitachi brothers join the host club, they use their experiences of how others perceive them to benefit financially for the club's benefit. Kind of in the same way that the mangaka sells the twins as a duo, but then subverts expectations by trying to grow their characters individually. It's only when Haruhi joins the host club do they start to feel comfortable making friends outside of each other, finally feeling more understood and seen as themselves and not just as a novelty. To boil down the obviously performative antics as sincere is a little bit misguided to me, and I feel like their obvious parody of this trope has unfortunately been lost in translation over recent years. And so let's jump to the other end of the spectrum away from parody and discuss an infamous anime that absolutely crosses into the no-holds-barred realm of twincest, this being 2010's Yosuga no Sora. In this 12-episode anime, we're introduced to Haruka and his twin sister Sora, both of whom are moving back together to their hometown due to the loss of their parents. And at first their relationship is rocky. While Haruka catches up with his predominantly female childhood friends, all of whom really just become a harem, Sora is being difficult and moody with a lack of socialization due to most of her youth being spent very unwell, not really wanting to leave the house or attend school, and often just waiting for Haruka to return home. Or to simply boil down her character to what it is, she's a tsundere. And straight out of the gate in episode 1, we're already informed that Sora harbors inappropriate feelings for her brother Haruka, with these feelings spanning all the way back to their childhood where they were reintroduced once she started to get better. Looking at her brother's back and receiving any kind of basic physical contact or praise makes her blush, leading to her pulling away and leaving her brother wondering what he did wrong. And as the series continues in typical 2000s harem fashion, taking tips from the school days book of dating, Haruka starts to explore relationships with his overly keen classmates. Now, because the show is based on a visual novel, the episodes are kind of broken up into different routes, with the endings and the stuff that happens within the episodes all depending on the character that he's trying to date. However, the overarching story that is consistent throughout every single episode is that of sibling romance. And it's only in the last few episodes do we see that Haruka is starting to grapple with the realization that his sister harbors inappropriate feelings towards him, and even worse and more concerningly, he may feel the same way about her. And let's be clear, if my synopsis of this show doesn't put you off, I will just hammer it home for you. Like, this is not made to win awards or change hearts and minds. This is here for one purpose only. And yet somehow there are actually reviews here on YouTube where people are praising this show for somehow allegedly tackling the topics and the themes within it well.
Now, like I said at the start of this video concerning Yosuga no Sora, you either love it or you really hate it. Now, what do I think? I personally love it.
I don't know if we watched the same show, but what? I'm not here to be a hater about anyone that likes this show, even though I vehemently don't agree. Everything we've seen up until this point, without even getting the twincest involved, has just been disgusting and vulgar and unnecessary. It is just exploitative and gross, and it gets worse. Because coming to the climax of this plotline, no pun intended, I swear, we see the twins getting caught in the act at their doorway by one of Haruka's other love interests and the class president. The scene now lives in infamy and memery in the darkest corners of subreddits. Realistically, this show is a haname, even if not by name, then by nature. The twin plotline, despite having some of the puzzle pieces to explore something more meaningful and dark, instead falling flat on its face and only really existing to give justification to weird and creepy fantasies between family members. There are glimpses of genuine horror through the reactions of the friends around them, but it's all pointless because by the end of the show, everyone is seemingly at peace with what happened, even cheering them on, hoping that they'll be happy in future, all despite uncovering what is objectively a disturbing secret within the family household. The final scene of the final episode being a direct comparison to the first scene of the first episode. But instead of the twins sitting apart from each other, the twins are now embracing as they hurtle towards their new life, not as siblings, but as lovers. Every interaction between the teens in this show is only there to sell raunchy tapestries and give the impression that Sora isn't a painfully bland and uninteresting anime protagonist. The use of twins narratively is only there to profit off what is a popular taboo, rather than any creative or narrative attempt to explore anything beyond that. It's essentially a non-horror version of School Days. Everything from the rampant Hagos to the amount of girls willing to compete for this dud of a dude's affection. In my opinion, this is just a trashy, bad, and distasteful anime all around, and unfortunately one that I was convinced into watching by my peers at the anime club, most of whom were dudes who would unironically use the term lolly towards girls. Seeing people online trying to feverishly defend this anime as anything other than another schlocky harem show falls flat when you realize it's just 12 episodes of young girls getting exploited by a guy who then goes for his own sister. This anime never wanted or cared to genuinely explore a difficult subject. It's only aimed to sell a fantasy. The fact this show has an active fanbase and gets more merchandise than seminal media like Perfect Blue or Serial Experiments Lane is a crime. In fact, this anime, in my opinion, is kind of what the Hitachi brothers are parodying, playing into this mysterious taboo that entices not only anime and manga fans, but also the general public. Whilst in reality, this kind of relationship seldom ever occurs and is illegal for good reason. However, I do think that anime and manga falls victim to stuff like twincest more often than other forms of media, purely due to the insular adult culture and animation industry in Japan. Animated media in Japan is a lot less regulated than its live-action counterpart, especially in comparison to here in the West or Europe, where we've cracked down heavy on the age and depiction of characters within cartoons. Meanwhile, cartoons and anime in Japan can get away with casual fan service or even inappropriate characters in media that is directed towards a younger demographic. And if you go to infamous areas like Akihabara, which is touted as the anime central of Tokyo, you will unfortunately just stumble across a lot of media of concerningly young-looking anime characters in compromising positions. The culture around adult activities in Japan is complex, uncomfortable, and usually rather biased. You can tell series like Yosuga no Sora are disproportionately enjoyed by men rather than women. Whether it be the lack of male characters in the show outside of our main character, or the fact that these young girls are always obedient and willing, it's obvious that the show and media wasn't marketed with women in mind. Hell, even the merchandise for Yosuga no Sora stands out in stark contrast compared to Ouran High School Host Club. Whilst there are 38 figures of Sora in various states of undress and mood on my figure collection, there are literally 0 figurines listed of her brother Haruka. This is because Haruka really is just a placeholder for the viewer to project on. He only really exists to open up the possibilities with these girls to the audience. He doesn't distract from the main focus of the series, which is the girls. Meanwhile, Ouran High School Host Club has completely different merchandise. Our female lead Haruhi has no weird or creepy figurines depicting her. She's always dressed in either her male or female school uniform with no additional curves or raunchiness added. Even the club's manager Renge, one of the only other female characters predominantly shown in the show, gets respectable figurines and merchandise. And when it comes to the boys, they are all respectably dressed and usually holding more comedic poses, with the only merch that leans into fan service arguably being stuff that would actually be sold in universe by the host club to its clients. These being cheesy, over-edited photos of the boys in flirtatious poses or cute outfits, but always inoffensive and safe for work. It's all just kind of self-aware and leading into the fantasy of what the host club likes to provide. And so I guess this leads me to the general state of twincest, because clearly not all media that falls under the twincest bracket is made equal or for the same purpose. For every parody, such as the implied relationship between Scanty and Knee Socks, in a show that's very clearly self-aware and critical of anime, you also get shows like Kiss X Sis, an unapologetic dumpster fire that allows its viewers to indulge in a taboo fantasy, whilst also making them feel emboldened enough to claim that there is a good plot to be had. Spoilers, there is not. It is not a good show. And hell, even in more mainstream anime media such as Vocaloid, Rin and Len, who were designed to be direct mirrors of each other but are often considered twins, regularly get the twincest treatment in both fan art and music videos, with this being a trend in their relationship since way back when I was a teenager. It almost feels like the karmic balancing of the universe. If you have a show like Candy Boy, then you need to have a show like Dominion Tank Police. In Candy Boy, it's specifically made for the viewer's pleasure, whilst in Dominion Tank Police is a means to an end to benefit the duo, using others' fascination and interest in them to their advantage. And also very quickly on that note, if you are looking for one anime to watch and take away from this whole video, please make it Dominion Tank Police. I think you can watch it entirely for free on YouTube right now. It's like 4 OVA episodes, and honestly, it is insanely good. It gives Ghost in Shell mixed with Akira. It's very, very old school, but it's really, really good, really funny, and yeah. Definitely check it out. And even if you want to step away from anime for a second and just look at cartoons as a general, even the recent Hell of a Boss Valentine's Day collection reawakened conversations about twins and twincest. Specifically, this being due to the merchandise of Glitz and Glam, two characters that show up in the Fizzaroli arc of Hell of a Boss, and both of whom are determined to become famous at any cost. The controversial merchandise in question being them on a pole and them also being shown wrapped up together looking towards the camera. Some netizens were immediately uncomfortable with the implication from this merch, whilst others were quick to point out that this merch not only feels in-universe accurate, but also intentional. A great video by creators Blue Moon and 2Dream here on YouTube and TikTok gives some genuinely good insight from the perspective of twins.
Okay, as a twin, let me talk about the new Glitz and Glam Hell of a Boss merch, which is basically like a non-problem, but apparently there's drama because there always is. And we're actually strangely qualified for this. I'm the girl who did the Rating Twins in Media series, and I'm the girl who makes Has-Been and Hellaverse content, and we're twins, so we're collabing. Long story short, this isn't Hell of a Boss shipping them together. This is just Glitz and Glam fetishizing themselves. Like they say in their song, wanna sell my funny slutty body to the masses. This is totally giving merch they'd sell to their fans in canon. One of them literally flashes their, twins to the audience during Clown Bitch. The point is, they're greedy and they want fame, so they'll do anything to get it. It's hell, and they're literally villains in the episode they appear in. And their behavior isn't shown to be good. The show characterizes them as being scummy people, so this merch makes sense for their characters. Okay, the worst part of this merch is Glam touching Glitz's ass, but hey, at least they're not making out because that would be twincest. There is a line, but they haven't crossed it into twincest, okay? Hear me out. Glitz and Glam are teasing a fantasy without actually doing anything questionable. Like this Twitter comment mentioned, Glitz and Glam aren't looking at each other, they're looking at you, the viewer. To me, it's giving when K-pop idols pose next to each other to look extra hot. It's giving Playboy here. They're enhancing each other's sexiness by posing sexily next to each other.
At the end of the day, I think exploring difficult or taboo subject matters can be tackled in good faith. Just because a movie or novel explores problematic themes that have come from real life stories or experiences doesn't automatically mean it exists to be desirable or enticing to the viewer. I think we forget that just because an adult situation or topic is being handled, that doesn't necessarily mean it's being sold to us as an enticing fantasy. I do not think any normal adjusted person would watch The In-Betweeners or any of its PG-13 rated scenes as something to rev your engine up to. The show is there to explore what it's genuinely like growing up in the UK in all of its honest, fumbling, and awkward discomfort. However, in the case of anime, this phenomena of twincest is never really used to say anything meaningful or impactful. At best, it's a self-referential jab about the genre and people's weird fascination, and at worst, and unfortunately most often, it's just a seedy sales tactic to sell to its basement-dwelling audience. Whichever way you slice it, anime does really need to chill on its Freudian theories, and instead put that energy into the Blue Lock animations. But I guess let me know down below, what do you think of this phenomena? When did you first hear the term twincest? Was it in the infamous Ouran High School Host Club? Do you enjoy Ouran High School Host Club? Or were you one of the unfortunate teens or kids that were exposed to weird anime under the guise of a recommendation? Also let me know down below, are there any other weird phenomena or unusual tropes that you see popping up in anime? Would you like to see more anime-based videos mixed in with the fashion and pop culture content that I already enjoy producing? I really said, hey, let's see if I'll get demonetized. I hope not, but we're gonna have to wait and see, I guess. Like, fingers crossed, because I've actively tried to not show anything or say anything too on the nose in this video, but I also feel like we should be able to make videos and talk about topics without having to overly censor ourselves. It's kind of a weird one. I also just wanted to quickly share that I did get my play button from YouTube. So we got the first play button, we've got the first milestone. I have no idea if this page would ever grow to the point where we get a gold play button, but you never know. So in the meantime, we have the silver achievement, we have the iconic play button, and I'm incredibly grateful again to be put in this position by you guys supporting my work, and I hope that I continue to make content that you'll really enjoy. But as always, if you never want to miss an upload and you want to support what I do for free, then click that subscribe button and the bell icon next to it to never miss a video. And of course, I upload over on TikTok and Instagram regularly, so if you want to see more content and more of me, you can go and check out those pages too. I hope you enjoyed this anti-Valentine's Day video, and now it's time, as always, for the outfit check and some of your fan art. Bye! It is time for the outfit check, and today I actually did make the effort to make the bottoms match the top, so let's get started. So this cute black black and pink headdress right here is from AC/DC Rag. Here's a little look at today's makeup for anyone who might be interested. Black spiked choker here is actually from Vivienne Westwood, and this necklace here is from Marc Jacobs. The top that I'm wearing is actually part of the Yami Kawaii collaboration that I did with Koi Footwear a couple of years ago. I love this jumper and I wear it a lot. And finally, for bottoms, I have something that won't be controversial, because today we have my Yami Kawaii Koi Footwear skirt. This is a pink and black tartan number, which also has a bunch of razor blades on the little waist corset area, and overall it's just super cute, super comfy, and again, I wear this skirt a lot.